This session is called Blogging for SEO, and you're going to learn a little bit how you can use blogging for search engine optimization and driving traffic to your website. So many websites are still static. They're simply websites. And this means that they have a set number of pages and they are rarely updated. And in today's social web, that's essentially a recipe for disaster because for all intents and purposes, static equals dead. It means it's not doing anything, it's just sitting there. So in many ways, posting fresh content can be viewed like a pulse. If you keep posting, you're still alive, you still have a pulse. But if you stop, so does your pulse. And Google and your visitors may assume that you're dead. So you want to keep posting. Now, this isn't always the case, but it is a good general rule. Because a good resource can be timeless. If you have a static site and it is a fantastic resource, that's okay. But in today's web, being active is very, very important. And for our intents and purposes here, blogging is a great way to get constant attention from search engines and from visitors because you're going to be keeping it fresh. So let's look at a few ways that you can leverage blogging for SEO and for traffic generation. So in 2009, Google released an update dubbed Caffeine, which specifically looked for activity. When blogging became more and more popular, Google, of course, paid very, very close attention. So this update was specifically designed to look for activity. And by activity, what I mean is regular updates. They want to see things regularly changing, new posts, new content. And another one of the interesting things that Google started looking at in this update is comments. So they're paying attention to comments on blogs as an indicator of quality content and of activity. So of course, the only way you can have comments is if you have a blog. So now you can probably understand why blogging is so important for SEO. You're going to post to your blog and they're going to look at the comments. And every time they come back, if they see more and more and more comments, they know that what you posted sparked a discussion. They know that it's really high quality content and people are talking about it. So they want to see that activity. And again, they called this update Caffeine, which is pretty cool. So always think about having activity, whether that's blog posts, comments. They want to see new, fresh activity. Okay, so let's look at a few examples and a few specific steps that you can follow so that you can leverage blogging specifically for SEO. So the first thing that I highly, highly recommend is to build a content calendar. You should define and commit to a certain posting schedule. Now, the way that you should be doing this is thinking about consistency. That's probably the most important thing when we're talking about activity is consistency. It's much better to post once per week than to try to do twice a day and then burn out after a month. So commit to something that you know that you can follow long term. If once a week's all you can do, that's perfectly fine. Yes, it's better to do 3 or 2 or maybe even once a day. But if you do that only for a little while and then stop, it's going to look really bad. Google's going to get used to seeing a certain amount of content from you. And long term, they want to see that consistency. So always think about that. And the best way that I've found to have my clients and myself on track is to build a content calendar and look 3 to 6 months out. What am I going to be blogging about on the Monday of every week for the next 6 months or even just the next couple of weeks, whatever you need to do to keep yourself on track. So the next thing that you'll want to do is to make sure that you're doing your keyword research. And what I recommend doing is building a keyword spreadsheet specifically for your blogging. So what this means is when you do your keyword research, and you've learned about that in some of our other videos, you're going to find keywords that you're going to want to use for your homepage and category pages and other pages like that. But there's going to be great keywords that you'll find that look perfect for a blog post. Maybe they're phrased with how to train your dog, or keywords like that that would be great for a blog post. Create a spreadsheet and always fill it with ideas. Keywords that you found that have a decent amount of search traffic, but not a whole lot of competition. Again, just as you learned in our keyword research videos. And stick to that keyword spreadsheet when it's time to blog. One of the easiest things you can do is put dates next to it and use the keyword research spreadsheet essentially as your content calendar. So now you know, here's these great keywords. And every Monday, I'm going to open up my blog software, WordPress, whatever you use, and blog about one of these keywords. So be sure to do your keyword research so that when you're posting about things that people are searching for, and then people are going to find you when they do search Google. So now it's also really important to think about being a resource. You want to write content that builds trust and authority. And it's great to have content that's entertaining, that, takes a stand and has a certain perspective. You always want to have your authority in there. But think about being a resource. Think about writing a post that when someone reads that, they think to themselves, wow, this is perfect for what I was looking for. It really answers my question. And it builds that trust and it builds that authority. And this is really, really important because then you're going to attract links and shares, and it's going to be somewhat of a timeless post, something that people will always want to refer back to. So always think about that when you're posting to your blog as well. Try to be a resource. So the next thing you want to do is to get social. And you always want to share and make it very, very easy for others to share your content. So after you post, tweet about it, share it on Facebook and Google+. Sharing via social news sites such as Dig is also a great thing to do. And also make sure that your blog is set up to have social sharing widgets. And it's a great best practice to have those widgets both near the post's title at the top and also at the bottom of the post. And the reason you want both is the one by the headline, people don't necessarily click them as much, but what happens is if someone clicks a link and they see your blog post and they see those social widgets and it says, this has been liked on Facebook 20,000 times, it's going to give you an added element of social proof, and it's going to almost talk the visitor into reading the article because they're going to say, wow, so many people like this article, I should definitely read it. So that's kind of an interesting social proof element of having those widgets. And then at the bottom, after they're done reading the article and they're already scrolled down to the bottom, having links down there makes it very easy for them to just click share and share it with their friends and get even more social traction. So again, always think about posting content that is keyword relevant and it's a resource and it's very valuable. And then always think about getting social and how you can share it out there on social networks. So there's one last thing that I want to cover here in this session, and it's about subdomains. And I get this question a lot, and it's very, very, very important. So some people will have blog.domain.com, so blog.whatever your domain is.com, or domain.com/blog. And they never know which one to do or if it even matters. And the answer is that it matters a lot. And you want to do the second option here, domain.com/blog. Now, the reason is when you divide your site up into subdomains meaning www.domain and blog.domain, going through the process of dividing your site like that, Google looks at that and says, well, if you've divided these things up, we should keep them separate. So they actually look at them as two completely separate websites. So now instead of building authority for one site, you're essentially splitting your authority across two sites. So by having domain.com/blog, you're putting your blog on your main domain, and you're essentially summing all that authority and keeping it under one umbrella. So this is something that's very, very important. If you can't do this, if it's technically impossible for some reason, I understand that. I've seen that before, and that's okay. It's better to blog and have blog.domain.com than to not blog. However, do anything you can, beg and plead with your technical team to make sure that you have domain.com/blog. Okay, so in conclusion, having a blog and posting regularly will go a long way with search engines. And that's not only because they're seeing activity, which we learned about the Google Caffeine update. They love to see activity, but it gives you a chance to do keyword research and look for new keywords and answer questions, build resourceful, great content, share that content via social networks and start attracting links and social shares. You can see how it's almost a snowball effect. You can find a good keyword, post a great article, share it, and repeat. And by doing that every week, you're having new keywords all the time, new content all the time, and it's going to go a long, long way, both for search engine rankings and for repeat visits and social shares and things like that.